Managing and optimizing PPC campaigns can be a real challenge for Amazon FBA sellers. It can take up way too much of your time and prevent you from focusing on growth. However, if you don't do PPC, your ranking will drop and you'll lose a lot of organic sales. So the question is, how can you do PPC in a way that's easy to manage but also provides good performance? You'll get the answer to this question in this video from my discussion with top Amazon PPC expert, Ben Alder. Hello, Ben.
How's it going, Dave?
Good. So today we're going to look at the benefits of having a simple PPC account, right?
That's exactly right. Okay. A lot of people overcomplicate things, and nobody likes those accounts. Nobody likes managing them. We're going to show you why it's a good idea to have a simple account.
I totally agree. Well, look, with that set, if you can share your screen and get started, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, can you see that?
It's loading up. Yeah, here we go.
Okay, let me just get the notes up. All right, so we're going to go over why you should have a simple PPC account today. We're going to start with the kind of structures that you normally see around PPC accounts. There's a whole bunch of advice out there. Most of it's not good. So we're going to look at that. The first thing that most people do is start with just an auto and a manual campaign. And this is good. It doesn't give you a lot of control, but it's about as simple as you can get. Then a lot of people really want to split it out by match type. And you can see how this is starting to grow in size. Now you have 3 manual campaigns and 1 auto. And if you're selling something with variations, it's pretty tempting to split it out by one attribute of that variation. So maybe it's by size, or maybe you have 2 variations and it's by size and color. And then you see accounts like this once in a while, and people have 50 campaigns or 50 ad groups just for one product. All of the products are very similar, and they've got all of these keywords, and it's just completely unnecessary. So the biggest problem is that overlapping keywords leads to chasing impressions. So if you have a setup like this, and you have multiple ad groups advertising very similar products, and you have the same keywords in each product, then you have a bid for each of those. Let me circle some stuff here. Yeah. So each one of these boxes is an ad group. And it's advertising one SKU, this small black cape. And then it's got 2 keywords in it: black cape, an exact match, and cape broad match. And each of those keywords has a bid. So now, since you have 3 ad groups and 2 keywords in each one, you have 6 bids. And the problem here is that each one of these keywords can get impressions for this search term black cape. And so Amazon has a lot of traffic. They've got a bunch of people searching for this search term black cape, and they have to decide which keyword of yours to enter into the auction. They do that by they take a bunch of stuff into account, but mainly it's relevance of the SKU and the value of your bid. So if you have all of these bids set equally, then they're just going to pick whichever one makes sense to them, and then they usually pick a favorite, and then they just enter that in all of the auctions for black cape. But if you have a bunch of different bids, then maybe they split it up between them. And you have to control all of these bids if you want to control your exposure to the search term black cape. And that's what Amazon advertising is all about, is controlling exposure to search terms. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense, yeah.
Cool. So when you have multiple keywords like that, this is what it looks like when you manage bids. So let's imagine we sell top hats, and we're running a broad keyword top hat in 2 different places. Now it's going to get impressions for top hat and black top hat, in both of these ad groups. If we have the bid set to the same amount, then maybe we get equal impressions for each search term in each ad group. These charts show the cost per click on the x-axis and the number of impressions you can get on the y-axis.
Ben, sorry, just to clarify, what's the difference between ad group 1 and ad group 2 in this example?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be really anything. It could be like this, where the difference between the ad groups is just the variation of the product you sell.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're imagining that each of these ad groups has a similar product. Maybe it's a variation on the same parent ASIN, or maybe it's a slightly different product, but it's still a top hat.
Okay.
And so when you change your bid, you change what cost per click you're willing to pay. And if you reduce the bid on one of them, then Amazon generally says, okay, well, you're not willing to bid that high on this one, so you are willing to bid higher on this keyword in ad group 1. So we're just going to give you all of the impressions for black top hat to ad group 1. So basically, instead of tuning your exposure to impressions in ad group 2, you just pushed it all to ad group 1. And then if you change the bid in ad group 1, Amazon will then see that and push all of your impressions over to ad group 2. So instead of managing exposure by tuning, you just end up chasing the impressions from one place to another. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And I can see how difficult it would be to try to control this if you made it even bigger.
Right, yeah. This is a very simple example. And so if you have, like that structure that we saw in the beginning with, variations of size and color, you may have 20 or 30 keywords that are all competing for the same search term. And every bid change affects every other keyword. And so it's really impossible. It may actually be impossible to converge on a set of bids that leads to a good, high performance account.
Yeah, and it seems to be that no matter what way you move them around, you're always going to end up getting most of the impressions on the higher bid, right? So
that is usually the case. I've seen this in practice quite a bit. Usually when I'm troubleshooting accounts, this is the first thing I look for. And I see it happen all the time. Sometimes it's extremely clear where, with presses on, we track bid history. So we can look at, when did the bid change? When did impressions stop for this keyword? Where did they go? And it just follows the bid. And, somebody will have 3 keywords and one has $1 bid, one has a 90-cent bid, and one has an 80-cent bid. And they'll move the $1 to 80 cents. And then the 90-cent bid will get all the impressions. And it's like to the day, it goes to 0 impressions for the $1 one that was at $1, and then it goes to, 1,000 impressions a day or whatever for the one that is now the high bid. And, unless you're looking for it, most people completely miss this. And so they keep trying to manage their performance, but they just chase impressions around.
Yeah.
So what we advocate for is isolating search terms. So if you have 2 exact match keywords, top hat and black top hat, and you've negatived, or maybe these are in the same ad group and you've negatived these keywords everywhere else in your account, then top hat is only going to show up in this one place. And black top hat is only going to show up in this other place. And then you have full control. You can just change your bid and you will just change the value of the impressions that you get, the amount you're willing to bid in the auction. It's controllable. Bid management really only works well on exact match keywords. And it really only works if you're getting all of the impressions for a search term in one place. Because like I said earlier, the main thing about Amazon PPC is that you're trying to manage your exposure to search terms. And because this is what the customer is searching on, this is the customer experience. You're trying to provide the customer with an ad that is relevant to their search that hopefully they will buy. And so you want to control your exposure as closely as possible, given the levers that Amazon gives you. And so now if we look at a different style of account, this has all of the SKUs in one ad group. It's got, just a second. Yeah, so it's got all of the SKUs in one ad group. Oops. And the keyword is just one exact match keyword. You don't have the broad in there. And now you can control all of your exposure to the impressions that Amazon has available through one bid. So all you have to do is tune this one bid, and you tune what Amazon is going to show you for. You don't have to control all 6 of the bids that we saw earlier at once. Just one place, very simple. So let's take a look at some takeaways from this and some ideas of why it's a good idea to have a simple account. Really important is that Amazon always gets final choice of what SKU and keyword gets an impression. A simple account actually gives you more control. If we go back to this, it looks like you have a lot of control because you can decide which keyword and which SKU gets the impression, but it's just an illusion of control. Amazon's gonna make the final choice. Even if you set this up exactly as you would like it, sometimes Amazon doesn't pick the highest bid. Sometimes they don't pick the one that you would like to sell more of. They pick whatever they want. And so if you have it all set up like this, it seems like you have a lot of control, but it's really Amazon that has final say on everything. So, and if a search term can show up for many keywords, a bid change on any one keyword impacts all of the other keywords. So again, you can chase these impressions around. Sometimes, if you have a really high bid on one and a low bid on the other, maybe the high cost ones go to the high bid, and the low cost ones go to the other one. But then if you switch those bids around, then maybe performance doesn't change like you would expect. It just becomes really challenging to manage. If you can reduce search term exposure to one place, you can control your exposure to that search term with bid. So if you do have just one knob to turn, then you can control your exposure to that search term, and Amazon's still going to pick whatever SKU they want to show. At the end of the day, you really don't have control over that. Whether your SKUs are split up into different ad groups or they're all in one place, Amazon still has final choice. So if you put them all in one place and have one bid on one keyword that you can control search term exposure with, then you can actually manage your account with bid. And the most important thing is that simple accounts are higher performance and less of a headache. I really don't understand why people try to make everything so complicated. Time and time again, I've analyzed hundreds of accounts, and the simple ones are the ones that people know what's going on. They're the ones that actually work with Amazon because Amazon doesn't give you as much control as you would hope over your advertising. And so you need to work with them to make sure that you're using the controls that they do give you properly. And that's actually, the simple accounts actually play to Amazon better. And they're just less of a headache. And I've seen accounts that spend $100,000 a month and they're super simple and they have really great ACoS and they're controllable. And I've seen accounts that spend $1,000 a month and have 10 times as many campaigns and nobody knows what's going on. And it's just, they can never achieve their goals.
Yeah, and I guess the other benefit of having a simple account structure is that it will be more scalable in the long term too, right? So as you add more SKUs and expand into other marketplaces, you're going to be able to manage it better. And, as you said, higher performance and less of a headache. I think that summed it up pretty well. And you've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, the scalability part is very important because, you may start out with a couple products and it may be fine to manage, 10 or 15 ad groups per product. But as you scale that up to 10 or 20 or 50 products, it quickly becomes unmanageable. And so you need a simple way to keep scaling this because you don't want PPC. Nobody's in the business of running PPC. Like that's not why they start a business, right? You start selling on Amazon to sell product. You start PPC to help you sell product. But if you're spending all of your time managing PPC, you're doing something wrong.
For sure. Yeah. You don't want to turn FBA into a day job. That's for sure.
No, exactly. So we at Press-Is-On, we've built the entire product around these concepts. I think we put forward a lot of these concepts into the popular vocabulary about managing ads on Amazon. And we've really built it from the ground up to help you achieve search term isolation and manage your search term exposure. So you get great analytics. You've got bid suggestions that can help you set your bids, because again, nobody should be spending their days managing PPC. And the coolest thing that we have, the new feature that we have, is these rules where you can say, okay, I want to search across my 2 ad groups, and I want to search across my broad ad group, and then start a keyword for any new search terms that got sales. And I want to start that in my exact match ad group, and then negative it in my broad ad group. And so this helps you achieve the search term isolation. It's a very simple way to manage your keywords and bids, and then, no headaches.
Very nice.
That is all.
Okay. Well, look, that was really, really awesome. I think there's some important but quite simple takeaways there that people need to go for the more simple approach to PPC. And I know from talking to other sellers over the years, some people just have such a headache with PPC, and it's like a firefighting exercise. So it's nice to see a method here you've outlined that will make people's lives simpler, number one, but also provide better performance and scalability in the long term.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, look, Ben, I really appreciate your time. It was a great presentation. And guys, I encourage you to check out Press-Is-On for sure. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment box below. Thanks a lot. Cheers, Ben.
Thanks, David.
See ya.